Sooners of Oklahoma at 12-0 and still looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Barry and Mack Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing this afternoon, D-Mack?
First comment I see is fire Arbuckle.
Buddy, we're ready.
Man, interesting game. Got the dub, right? We talked about it last night. Win in advance, 1-0. We have another 1 week prep to go 1-0, and then you just throw all your chips on the table. I got a lot of things to critique. I took notes today. You know what I'm saying? I got some stuff saved for 10 thoughts because I have some thoughts. But I think I don't think it would be wise for us to minimize playing at home against a tough opponent who wants to run the football. They had the cue they wanted to have back. By the way, he played decent, right? He's their guy. So it's not like we had some lucky whatever. We stopped the run. We killed their asses on third down. Man, we got the victory. So I think before I turn on have a critical eye towards the things we need to improve if we want to get to where we want to try to get to. I think the first thing to assess is the idea of how would the team handle success to games where they're the underdogs in away stadiums, right? Wearing the white unis, coming back home with expectations against a team that we essentially needed to win. I think it is critical to come out on this show and at the very beginning say, we got the dub. And so good to criticize, complain, and have a bunch of critiques having that dub versus catching a nail. So we'll just start there and then we'll assess the different things that need to be assessed from there.
Yeah, and as always with this show, for those who are new and not familiar with the Postgame Pod, we will go position by position. I have some things to say on some different guys, some different performances that stood out, some that left a little bit to be desired. But I want to let you all know first, this show is brought to you by OU Insider, OUinsider.com. Go over there, get yourself a membership if you want recruiting news, team news, injury news, all of the things that the average fan, the casual or the devout just want to know and be in the loop on. That's maybe not showing up on X, or maybe you're unsure. Maybe it seems a little squirrely. You go over to OU Insider. Parker, Brandon, and the gang have vetted it, that they know what's true coming in and out of Norman. And just a fantastic site to be a part of. And we will be posting on there not only today, but this upcoming week. D-Mack posts his 10 thoughts, and I've been posting quite a bit of content on players, on recruits, and want to shout out the signing day coverage will be awesome. So be on the lookout for that. There will be some videos that I'm a part of, as well as the rest of the gang over there. But D-Mack, as you said, win in advance. OU needs to just go 1-0. You are locked in to the playoff if you win. As we said last night on the pre-show, OU's goal is to play 3 straight home games and go 3-0. And right now, they got one of those down. They got another game next week where the competition level is still going to be high. This Missouri team was not a pushover. Prabula is a good quarterback. Drinkwitz is a very good coach. And when you watch Missouri play on the defensive side of the ball, that their backers and their defensive line is very formidable. I would actually say, after seeing them today, because I will admit, I watched them in prep for some of our stuff, but I didn't watch them a whole bunch this year. They've just been a little ho-hum, even at 7-3, now 7-4. But I was thoroughly impressed at how physical they were. I haven't seen a lot of defensive linemen, particularly on the interior, go to the level of physicality of an EPL this year, right? And Missouri was not afraid to bring it. Before we jump in and get the big bird's eye view, want to go through the stats of the game just real quick. OU 14 for, make sure these are the updated. We'll actually go off here. Yeah, OU 14 first downs to Missouri's 19, but it felt like OU's were timely, particularly in the second half. They had some good pickups and were able to throw the ball. That kind of blows well here. 6 for 16 and third down. Not great, but certainly better than we've seen in the past couple weeks. And then a huge stat, holding Missouri 3 of 14 on third down conversions. Fourth down, Missouri had the lone fourth down attempt at the end of the game, was not able to pick it up. And then 276 total yards, Missouri 301. And we saw Missouri get off to a good start. Hardy had, I want to say, 43 yards in that opening possession and a half. And then OU really held him in check the rest of the way and figured things out. Passing, Mateer a little under 50%. Pabula goes 20 of 36. OU 103 rushing yards. Missouri, D-Mack 70 yards on the ground total. OU really figured it out. Penalties, we'll talk about that a little bit. There were some very untimely penalties for Oklahoma in this one, and just errors that you cannot make if you want to win a championship and be a championship caliber football team. OU 7 penalties for 80 yards, Missouri 6 for 51. And then time of possession in Missouri's favor, 32-48 to OU's 27-12. And we've seen that now, I want to say the past 5 weeks. OU has been on the other side of the time of possession, and it hasn't seemed to make a massive difference. Turnovers, again, were a name of the game. Jacoby Johnson gets the pick, and just a lot of pressure. But D-Mack, what does this win say to you, looking now at OU, final game of the year, coming up against LSU, again at home, and this team has a chance to do something that some Sooner teams have not done in a while. So seeing what OU did today, those players coming out in what could have been a ho-hum atmosphere, it could have been a ho-hum game. There could have been some, not necessarily sleepwalking, but you're not playing Tennessee, you're not playing Alabama, you're not playing Texas, you're playing Missouri, who has been, meeting less than what they expected this season. How do you feel about the way the Sooners came out today?
I don't have a ton to say, man. We played against an opponent that's physical, wants to run the football. The things that make me smile is watching the defense. It was very clear that the first possession we didn't understand the speed and or physicality that was going to be necessary, and I was a little concerned because Hardy was just moving people and their offensive line was pushing us. But I mean, from the second possession on, the defense played with a lot of tenacity, I would even say a lot of discipline. And I'm gonna get to position groups. There are a couple players that need to be twos. And people, if you're on my Twitter, you know who the hell I'm talking about. You need to be a 2, son. Sit your ass on the bench. You're not a 1 anymore, because when you come in, it's when air happens. It's when plays are possible. Offensively, and I don't even want to say a work in progress. We're trash. Our offense is trash. And from the standpoint of, I've been talking identity all year. Okay, first rant of the day. We won, so let's have at it. You mean to freaking tell me that we don't line up in power I tight formation ever, and we line up in power I on 3rd and 1 and run behind our lightest old lineman? We're running. If it's old school Pee Wee football, we're running like up the 2 hole, right? Like,
Yeah,
I wouldn't call that inside zone. The 0 hole is right up the center. The 2 hole is a center guard gap. Our center is not the guy we want to be running behind on 3rd and 1. That's what we cook up after a timeout. Oh, coupled with We run the ball on first down and get 3 yards. We run the ball on second yard down and get 3 yards or 5 yards. It's 3rd and 2, and we run a slot switch route. It's like a switch fade. They crisscross.
Mhm.
We're running that, and we're up 9, and we're trying to put or 11, whatever the hell we're up. We're putting the game away, and we're starting to get them on their heels. And we run a switch route, a switch release fade. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun, you know what I'm saying? We got the dub, win in advance. We checked that box. Okay, so Mackey checked that box nice and early. If you get on the pod late, you will miss all the rainbows, daffodils, and unicorns because we got a lot to talk about offensively. And if you're on our pod and if you saw my Twitter, chicken or the egg, I honestly today don't know which one is worse. I don't know if it's the chicken or the egg. I honestly don't know. They both suck though. Today, both sucked.
Yeah, the offense it is what it is. They were able to make enough explosive plays today, D-Mack, but it does seem like there is no strategy and no setup for what they are trying to do. Right on the drive where Satania is able to get free. That was the only time all game where I believe because of personnel, they had a backer covering Satania twice, or who was like but with how they had it out there with Satania playing it almost not necessarily in the slot, but being that second inside and then third inside receiver. So, and they were going man like 2 or 3 plays in a row. So it felt like that was the only time where they said, we're going to throw the ball 2 out of 3 times here to Satania. One of them, I think they even ran it. So that there's very little strategy. There is very little thought in the run game. You know, I will give Missouri credit for this, even though OU held them in check. You can see where Missouri throws some bells and whistles on their run game. You can see where they have some things they want to get to. Their run game is that it has some identity. And OU is just too good of a defense with too good of a front seven. And Owen Heineke is too good at getting through that B and C gap and taking guys out. His speed to me was really showcased today in terms of his ability to just close the distance, take away airspace, you know, especially as the game progressed into those later quarters. But again, it doesn't seem like there is a strategy for the offense. And Mateer, even on the throw to Satania, it might have been the one time where the sidearm was necessary because of the way the window was, but it is the same mechanical breakdowns, the same mechanical deficiencies, and a lot of the issues with the deep ball is whenever you are throwing off of such an inconsistent base, you aren't able to, you have too much variability in the throw. So the steadier your base, the more in rhythm you are, the greater chance of an accurate ball. But when you are not in rhythm, and when you are off your base and then you try to throw deep, what you end up doing is saying, man, I don't have enough control of my body here. I just need to rip that thing. So you don't throw with any touch. You don't put enough air under it for a receiver to go under the ball and do something with it. What did you think of just the way OU handled the later quarters, D-Mack? And I know we'll go position by position, but like that late third, fourth quarter, when OU did have a chance to put the game away, run some clock out, maybe even get one more score and separate, how do you feel they managed that?
You asking rhetorical questions. Stop trying to throw me Nerf balls to cut some people out. That was an abomination. The first possession of the second half, I wrote this down. In fact, I posted it on my Twitter. I said, hey guys, every game so far this year, coming out in the third quarter, we've been trash. And it just brings me back to OU Texas. The OU Texas game is close at the half. I think we give up 3, or we throw the pick right before the half where we could have kicked the field goal. Mateer, right? And then it's like, okay, we're going to make adjustments, right? It's a big game. Hey, we're going to do something. And sure enough, we come out and lay an egg. And
Mhm.
every third quarter I've been watching since that game, it's like, what are they talking about? Like, you know, when we used to go into the locker room, okay, guys, what's working? Right. And oh, coach, look at this. By the way, they wouldn't take our input very serious, right? The receivers like, coach, they can't guard us. Like we always, we telling them whatever, this and that, and the other.
Yeah.
But generally, Lee, Troy Mangino, or Long, or whoever it was, we'd be like, guys, these are the things that are working. And they'd really just confirm with us, hey, guys, do you see it the same way? Yeah, we see it. Right. And they talk their O-line stuff, whatever kind of fronts they were dealing with, whatever, blitzes or whatever. And it gave us an idea of what we're going to be the focal points of the second half. And
Mhm.
so when I just watch our games and I'm like, Mizzou is playing off. Mizzou is by the way, they were mixing up man and zone pretty well, whatever, but more zone than man, more of a matchup, very similar to what we like to do. It makes so much sense to run level concepts to the field or to the boundary with very easy reads. By the way, we ran it once or twice, and Mateer generally got a decent window to throw the ball, but it's like, make them get out of it, right? We start running the ball a little bit in the second, in the third quarter, and we're not chunking them 7, 9, 10 yards, but we're getting 3. And you can feel their defense is like, oh crap, if they can run the ball, it's gonna. And then we just get out of it again.
Yeah.
The third quarter was extremely disappointing to me for Ben Arbuckle. And by the way, the fourth quarter he doubled down on his disappointment coming from me, and a lot of people in the comments tend to agree. And I say that because the game we're playing in, we got 3 consecutive possessions on our 45 or closer going in.
Yeah.
We got 3 consecutive possessions. So when you look at it in a nutshell, to not score is already a minus. To not stress them is an even bigger minus. And I believe on 2 of those possessions, we don't even gain 1 first down. As an offensive coordinator, in a game you're up 11 against a team that is not built to come back, right? They're not a team that's going to come back from behind like a Tennessee could or an Alabama could, right? Even an Ole Miss. Those guys are high-powered offenses. In that game, the offensive coordinator has to say, I've got to come up with a game plan. Even if it means, Barry, I would have been okay if possession 1, we tried to pass the ball and then we got a punt. And then possession 2, we tried to run the ball and then we got a punt. But what he learned from possession 1 and possession 2 led to possession 3 being a possession where we could see some continuity, some connections, and even just a field goal. I would have said, I got it. Mizzou's a good team. They're fundamentally sound. We tried to pass the ball. We tried to run the ball. The third time, we did a mixture of the 2 and whatever he found that was going to get us to the level of success. But I was just as bewildered possession 3 as I was bewildered possession 1. In fact, I think it is. Possession 3 is the possession where we run the ball on first down and get 3 yards, run the ball again on second down and get 5 yards, and then we want to switch release fade route on 3rd and 2. Bro, like, you don't want to win. We could have lost that game. Coleman catches that ball in the back of the end zone against freaking Sammy O, who needs to have his tail on the bench. He needs to be on the bench. Sorry for being emotional. He needs to be on the bench. Coach, you watch the same film I watch. I know you do. Stop giving him chances. Sammy O gets more chances than anybody else. Foje has a bad rep. He sits the bench the rest of the game.
Which that was crazy. That was nuts.
Simmons is playing Q2 on, or the end of Q1 on. Sammy O, mental bust, missed the block. By the way, he does it again. He does his hot dog front running. He has a play. It's just a play, bro. You made a play.
Does anybody celebrate more than him on just like average plays or things other players do? Not to dog him.
Regular ass play, and you're all like, oh, he did it again. And listen, so no one misinterprets what I'm saying. Sammy O, as your 4th backer, is damn good depth. I don't know if we ever had 4 backers who the 4th backer was as good as him. I am not saying Sammy O needs to lose his scholarship. But the possession where we're up 9 or 11 and we can't move the ball, and then the possession where it feels like, oh, if they get anything cooking, we could be in trouble. They decide to go with Sammy O.
Mm-hmm.
And on 3rd and 5, they run a running back choice route. He's giving him way too much air. If he tackles him the way Heineke and Kip both did all day in the flats, as soon as you catch it,
Yeah.
you're getting hammered. If he simply does what both guys did, it's 4th and 5, they got a punt. But because he gives him air, he catches the ball, he turns the field, it's 4th and 2. We end up stopping him, I believe, or they try a field goal, something. But I'm like, why do we keep putting him in? There's another 3rd and long. Here I go, right? I'm supposed to be waiting for
Let's do it. But no, you're good. You're good. We'll get to the players.
Somebody said it was RSJ. I want to talk about that too. By the way, RSJ is scheme. Listen to me, guys. RSJ is a safety. And he's a guy who's going to get a cup of coffee in the league. And depending on how he plays, I don't know if he'd be undrafted. The defense is so good. When you're in a defense this good, your starters get drafted because of, right? So RSJ is a guy that I don't fault him as a high safety for being schemed into positions where now he's got to cover the other team's best receiver. That's scheme. Don't we wish our scheme could do that? Don't we wish we could identify the one guy we want? So it's not that he's trash or he needs to. I don't think he's a 2. I don't think he's a bona fide dog like I used to, but it's not his fault. If he's a 4.62 guy, you know what I'm saying? Hips a little bit slower than a DB. They queued up their best receiver on him. That's scheme, ladies and gentlemen. We used to do that in our sleep. We never do it now. And so, yeah, it's not RSJ so much that I feel is a bona fide 2. We have 3 damn good backers. They need to get 90% of the reps.
Yeah.
And Sammy never needs to be in on a possession that matters. Guys, the touchdown that Coleman drops, Sammy's covering him. Go back and watch the play. The play, 4th and 2, which would have been 4th and 5. If Sammy makes the play with no air, they probably kick a field goal, but it's 4th and 2 on that play where they say, oh, they got him schemed up on the linebacker. If you listen to the game telecast, he says it. Oh, the play got him schemed up. If I would have just lofted it into the back of the end zone. It's Sammy O covering him. It's Sammy. Why is he in the game? Anyway, I'm sorry. Texas is up 7-3. Looks like they're going to handle business. Let me check out OSU, Oregon. Yeah, man. Defense is really fun to watch. Offense is sticking a dull needle in my eye. Chicken or the egg. Today, I honestly don't even know which one I think is worse. You brought up a play. Sorry, Barry, you brought it up. I'm going to say it. You brought up Satania's TD. Yep. They run a trail slant out of trips. You guys ready? And if you were on my Twitter, you already know I pointed this out. Did you know they ran the exact same play the play before, and Mateer just missed him? Whoa. They ran the exact same concept. It's not the same play. The play before, the number 3 receiver just stays like it's a quick screen. But they literally run the trail slant, clear slant, right? So we clear out the middle of the field. Backside runs double slants to bring everybody else over the top so there's nobody on backside, which is a beautiful concept. And then number 2 runs the slant. It's called a trail slant, right? And you run it underneath the other one so that you're naturally running away from everyone else. They run the same play, and Mateer just misses him. He just missed him. By the way, he probably doesn't score the play before because when they run it the second time, the backside slants pull the safety across the field, and that's why Satania's out the gate. But I'm giving BA props. I'm like, go ahead, Arbuckle. I'm looking at what he's doing. I'm also referred to a play that we did with Kanik. People, we were laughing about it, and I posted a video actually on Twitter because I want to show you guys how you scheme up a guy who can't block. This is how you scheme him up to be effective at non-blocking. But yeah, our team on any given Saturday, I guess I could say, on any given Saturday, we played well enough to win again. You know what this tells me too? I think we could have beat Ole Miss. If Satania doesn't fumble, I think we would have found a way to beat Ole Miss. By the way, chat, do you guys agree? I believe if Satania doesn't fumble, we may have found a way to win that game because this team is cerebral. The defense has guts. The special teams is extremely solid. And, they're extremely frustrating as well.
Well, and I think that the offense is not here's my take. This isn't even a hot take. The offense is talented across the board at every position. Like I'm not saying that they've got receivers like Alabama's got, but Satania is he not one of the 6 best receivers in the SEC?
That's about where he's probably in the 6 to 9 range.
Yeah, but you couple that with X-Rob, who is a really good, really solid running back, Blaylock, who is a really good, really solid running back, and you're young on the O-line, but you are very talented. And tight end, that's a position where the outside of Helms, who has done a much better job. And really the last 2 weeks, so I will say he has struggled on the blocking the last couple weeks. He's had some moments that haven't been great. And today, kind of that same thing. But Missouri, they've got dudes on the line of scrimmage. They've got big, fast, athletic guys who are just a problem for a tight end to try and handle. But it really does boil down to it does not feel like OU is isolating matchups. It does not feel like there is some thoughtfulness in where you are on the field, where you are on the hash, who is advantage, who has the advantage in a given scenario based on alignment, right? Based on personnel. It does not feel like that is at the forefront of what OU is doing scheme-wise. And this is a little more like kind of nitpicky, but it also feels like there's a little, almost a shade of unpreparedness at times, D-Mack, where it feels like we said this in the offseason, one of the things that Riley did really well that he picked up from Leach and talked about it was instead of running plays until you get them right, you run plays until you can't get them wrong, or at least concepts. And it does not, where you discussed it, before many pods ago, just knowing so well within that concept that you're running what your options are, that everybody goes up there and is fully confident. There were multiple times where Blaylock doesn't look confident in what he's doing. You watch him on the play and he's uncertain of who to block. There were multiple times, especially I noticed today when they split him out at times, he had a lot of uncertainty on what he was supposed to be doing. And you could just tell nothing is done full speed and it's all done kind of pitter-pattering. And but OU is talented. If Mateer can rein in, and I know this is crazy because we're saying this with one game left in the regular season, but it is the difference between winning and losing at the highest level. And OU has a defense. It tells you how good the defense is, and we're about to go into that. The defense is so championship caliber that the offense can lay an egg for 90% of their possessions and then go out there and occasionally, whip up a big play and have some success. And then that's enough to separate, right? When you hold teams to 6, you're going to have enough to win. And, hopefully this team is really reminiscent. You brought it up last night. I don't think it's like your 2000 OU team in any way, because that offense still was capable of being explosive, had some veteran leadership, right? You had a senior at center. I think you had another senior. Kempnick was on that team who was a senior. You had, there you go. So you had upperclassmen. You had Heupel, right? Your most important player. But it is a little reminiscent of that Ohio State team in 2002. Remember that team that just kind of, their defense was so good and they just skirted by, it felt like every game that year, and then get to the national championship and is able to get it done. And that is because the defense was so high caliber. Saw more Jaden Jackson today, D-Mack, and that's where I want to start going by position groups. Stone continues to play well. The intensity that he has, man, and there was some edge today in this one. Both players, both teams, very chippy. Grayson Halton was getting after it. Stone was getting after it. Yeah, PJ, John at the guy on the sideline. Awful mistake. Cannot do that. Just
I don't think it was PJ. I don't think it was PJ.
Who was it?
64. It looked like the numbers. The numbers were trash. It was a lineman who it looked like 64 to me, but I could be wrong.
It looked like somebody got down in his face. Yeah,
immediately in front of him looked like 64. Just FYI.
Man, so that either way, you can't make that mistake. You can't do that. But defensive line goes out there. They hold Missouri to 70 yards on the ground. And outside of really the first couple drives and then a couple spots in the game, OU held them in check. Missouri had no shot. The penetration was too good. The discipline, right? And this is a credit to Chavis. I know we gave him his flowers a little bit last night, but this is the most technically sound that the defensive end position has looked since BV has been there. Maybe it's just the talent is better, right? Question before we dive in. This team this year, where would Ethan Downs be? And it's not to dog Ethan, it's just the talent level. Where would he be in this rotation? Would he be a 2?
Yeah, for sure.
He'd be a 2? Yeah.
He'd be ahead of PJ.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Listen, if Ethan Downs is your third dude and you don't need him to be the guy who has to go get the sack, Ethan Downs he's a plus guy for sure.
Absolutely. So what do you feel about the way the front played today, D-Mack? That the D tackles, D ends, how do you feel they fared?
It's interesting. I don't think a lot of people who don't really understand the outside zone concept understand how important your point of attack is from the 0-3 technique. If your tackles get undisciplined and try to run around linemen, they create a natural crease. And if anybody has watched the 49ers or the Broncos back in the days, because the Broncos were really the team that originated the concept, outside zone is designed to go inside. It's just you're reaching another gap out, right? So every lineman is stretching the gap. The running back doesn't want to run to the edge. If he has to, he will, right? He'll find the seam and then he'll take it to the edge. In fact, the way you stop outside zone is you stretch it. You keep everybody running horizontally and they'll run to the sideline. So I just think it's pertinent to speak to the fact that our 56, 65, 0, 52, those 4 guys did an extremely good job after the first possession of really stringing the plays and or stunting their guys in his feet. Boom, when you hit that lineman and he can't move, you kill the ability to go outside. And so just an exceptionally well played game. The same way last week I said, BV let them turn loose against Bama and Ween started winning on the edge. Remember that? Or Wine started winning on the edge. Obviously, BV flipped the switch back the other way and say, guys, you got to run your assignment football. On PJ sack, which he's being held, which is crazy. Yeah. PJ, if you notice, PJ's holding his gap. PJ could beat the guy, although the guy is holding him. PJ stays outside. He keeps his head peeking. He's peeking around the edge. And then as soon as the quarterback steps up, he throws the guy inside, gets the sack. I think Kendall comes in and cleans it up. But that's BD's defense. Other teams or in the Alabama game, Wine would have had the green light to just beat them and try to get the Q, right? You notice PJ didn't because you can't go past the quarterback in our scheme. If you go past the quarterback, you leave a natural lane, quarterback steps up and he'll kill you. So the defensive line, they played exceptionally well. I think all those guys came in from MJJ to PJ. I saw Koya get some reps here at the end of the game, which was good for him.
Wine didn't play as much in the meat of it today.
Nah, he played at the end.
Yeah,
for sure. Wine was doing some good stuff. So from a defensive line perspective, another exceptional game by them. They took an offense that ran for 300 and some odd yards last week and kept the running back from under 60 yards. Like, we'll talk about Heineke and Kip and what they were able to do. And McKenzie had a play that I think is key too. But the D-line, great job.
Yeah, it is. I saw somebody post about it in the comments. you just have a bunch of guys who can win one-on-one and beat double teams. And when you have a team where your front can win one-on-one, stay low, get off the ball, that is something in the film study and watching these guys. They are so consistent, everybody along that front, in getting off the ball fast that rarely are they beat just right off the snap. Every single snap, they are excellent at getting their hands up. And in this game, when the run game was going to be paramount for Missouri, you saw guys who are best with their hands. You get most of the snaps. Your Graysons, your Stones, your Jacksons, your PJ. PJ has gotten very good with his hands and learned how to use his length a lot more, and is playing with much better leverage. I talked about it last night. His mobility, his ability to stay low and keep a much sturdier, more balanced base has gotten a lot better. That's where a guy like Okoye, against Alabama, go out there and run, get over the edge and try to bend and try and put some pressure on the QB. In this one, a little bit more discipline required. And I think OU strategically with personnel, at least on the defensive front, made some very good decisions, and it boded well. And at the end of the day, you're able to stop one of the better rushing attacks in the SEC, and you set your linebackers up for success.
Yeah.
I can't remember when it was, but one of the things you talked about, and I know some of the guys hate it, but guys, you played when you played, and your reference point is the teams that you played on, and you also played where BV was a coach. And the scheme, although different, there are concepts that he used then and just philosophy that still bears out today. And one of the things that you talked about was in BV's scheme, if you have backers who are good at reading guard, center, guard, they're explosive in their first step, and they're just generally smart, they are going to eat and make big plays in Venable's scheme. That was Rocky and Torrance. Later on, you had Lofton and Ingram and Rufus, and just a plethora of players who knew how to play within Venable's scheme and were very intelligent and took fantastic angles. I think Heineke, Kip too, but Heineke is one of the best on the team in understanding how he needs to set himself up when he is attacking so that he doesn't allow the ball carrier to get inside or outside. He's been shook a couple times this year, no doubt, but he consistently, more times than not, has his head on the right side. He's driving his legs through the ball carrier. He plays with tenacity. He plays like his hair is on fire, and he is such a wonderful sight to see at that position, because so many things where the difference in Heineke versus having a guy like Sammy O out there, D-Mack, even on the run plays, right? Take away the pass stuff, is Heineke is actually going to get you down for the 6-yard loss. There's a big difference in a 6-yard loss and a 2 to 3 yard gain, right? The 6-yard loss, it makes that possession almost a foregone conclusion in this defense. But if you get a couple 2 or 3 yards on first down or second down, you've still got a shot. So backers, didn't really talk about Kit, but I think it's apparent that Heineke had a really solid game. What was your thought on how those guys played?
Well, first things first. Heineke's flashed week 1 and 2 and 3, right? He was in the second group. I think it was him and Samuel initially, and he flashed. He flashed in ways where we're like, man, he's kind of like really good, right? I mean, those are if you go back and listen to our preseason, week 1, week 2, week 3 pods, he's a guy who, I think Michigan game, he had a big game. In fact, I remember specifically. Heineke's a guy a little light in the ass. But he makes up for it with speed and tenacity and technique. I've been told on multiple occasions, I think this is probably my third time saying on the pod, he's a 4.5 guy, right? Kip's a 4.5, low 4.4 guy too. So those two guys, you're talking about plus athlete in any scenario. Now you bring that up and see, I'm a critic, bro. And watch, somebody in the chat saw too. Heine missed 2 run throughs. By the way, he had, but Hardy is a dog grown man. Heine has a run through against Harden or Hardy after the beautiful run through he has. So he has a beautiful run through. They showed it a couple times. He's throwing through the B gap, beats the guard. Well, the guard is just stepping. He just beats the guard to the spot, and he runs through and makes a beautiful tackle. Probably about 2 possessions later, he has another one. He's too high. Hardy is just such a big burly dude. He gets high and he hits him in the backfield. Hardy breaks a tackle and then gets like a 3-yard gain. But you're right. Samuel wouldn't have even been there. Like Samuel would have still been like, I don't know, looking on the sideline. I don't know what he would have been doing. I don't know. And I just say that to say, because I think if we're gonna speak to the good, we gotta speak to the bad. Kip has the same issue sometimes that Heine has. Yeah. Kip is a guy who can get to the spot, especially last year, and sometimes can't finish. But Heineke played well. Kip played well. Both of those guys played well. Both of them played extremely well in pass coverage that you won't see because the quarterback couldn't throw the ball because they played well in coverage, right? So I think that speaks to them as well. The play that I think matters that no one's going to talk about is a play that McKenzie makes early in the second quarter. They run outside zone. McKenzie reads it, and just like Alabama, he kisses his ass, and he gets tackled right there. Boom, right there. He doesn't get any more yards. It's a 1v1 tackle. They're meeting at a 45. It's like old school Pee Wee League side tackling drill. They're meeting at a 45. McKenzie hits him. By the way, he doesn't like bomb him or like, ooh, but it's just a form tackle right there. Meets him in the hole, or there's no hole, but meets him right there in the area, and he stops him. I don't think Hardy has a 7-yard run after that play. Or a quality run, a run where he imposes his will. And I'm like, damn, the numbers are hard to see. And I'm like, makes sense. It was McKenzie. And we said that. I remember in the pregame or last week, we're like, hey, we're going to need McKenzie to be physical. I think that play is just one of those meaningless, meaningful plays. For everybody, they're not going to know. But when Hardy's running and he's kind of trucking everybody and getting in traffic, and then all of a sudden somebody forms him, like, oh, shit, these boys get hit. It just changes the way, you know what I mean? You carry the ball from there. Yeah. And so I think that hit was really important. I just feel, as you talk about backers, we could heap praise on Kip and Heineke all day. I guarantee you, when you watch the game again, you'll just see plays. Kip sinks into second level routes so well. He sinks into second level routes better than Kendall Daniels. Kendall Daniels should have had a pick. Should have had a freaking pick. He's robbing, and they're running a crossing route, and he misses it by a half step. It's one of those plays Kip has picked sixth before. Yeah. But those 3 guys, I think we have to speak to Kendall at the backer depth because he's playing a lot of second-level defender. Just really, really, guys, I can't express how hard it is to be asked to do the things they are asked to do and to do it at the clip they do it. And I'm talking about Heineke. I'm talking about Kip Lewis. I'm talking about Kendall Daniels. Guys, they cover up so many mistakes. They read the D line and what gaps they have, and they plug the gaps that they aren't in. And then they've got to jump into pass routes, and then they've got to jump into screen game. I mean, it's really fun to see those 3 guys do what they do. And then I speak about McKenzie because on rundowns, to me, he just makes so much sense to be in there to cancel stuff in the AB gap. And it's why it feels so negatively balanced when I speak to Samuel, because he doesn't have the instincts. He does not have Heineke's instincts. Heineke or Kip, those 2 guys instinctually are ball players. He does not have McKenzie's physicality. That's the play. See, it always comes back to me. They run QB draw. The QB does second quarter. The QB does not let the running back get in front of him. Probilla, whatever his name is, he's excited. And you can't see the backer who it is, but the backer like grabs him. Not like a bear hug, I've got you, but like he's kind of beat and he reaches out and grabs him. If the running back is there, Probilla's going to get 10 more yards because the backer doesn't have, right? He's going to block him. But even still, you want your backer to get a flush hit. Heineke has a flush hit on a boom. Well, he grabs him, and I'm like, oh, man, that's lucky. In my brain, I'm like, oh, he got lucky. And I was like, who was that? And sure enough, you get up, and it's Sammy. And I'm like, man, bro, you got beat, bro. Like, you got beat. You got lucky. And if he had done his technique correctly and let the running back get you, you really would have been out. And then I immediately said to myself, like, why is he in so early? And here, of course, he gets up. I'm just like, bro, you didn't even tackle, buddy. You grabbed him, and he kind of like, he's hurt. Like, he's coming back off
Yeah.
injury. He's getting down to make sure he doesn't, put himself in. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oregon. Oh my God. Oregon USC is wow. If y'all can turn it right now, turn to that game. Somebody, they're gonna be on He Got Moss tomorrow morning. Oh my God. Oh, that's a TD. Anyway,
There you go.
backers, bro. We got 3 really good ones. We got one specialty one who, once he gets healthy, I think next year McKenzie's going to be a real dude, like 5th-year guy. I think he's going to really be another echelon in terms of NFL because he's going to really be focused on getting his body to be an NFL caliber backer, assuming he's healthy. I just think Samuel should be a 2 behind those guys.
Yeah, we've heard the stuff on Samuel that he's just a wonderful team guy. I see kind of the feedback in the comments. Team guy, team first. He cares about the players. He seems or sounds like a guy who wants to lead but doesn't quite have the play behind it yet to be able to do that. And he's still a couple years away from resembling anything like a Kip or a Heine or even a McKenzie, right? Who has also sort of cemented himself as a bona fide leader in that group. D-Mack, I want to talk secondary because there were some glaring issues at times, right? You saw Bowen again get picked on a little bit today and struggled at times, but there were moments where against bigger receivers where at the very least he's chest to chest, he's playing with pretty solid technique. He's there. I think Boganowski had one of his better games, particularly as it pertains to stuff in the run. And I think you said it, or we just generally discussed it, that in this game, especially at the goal line, those third level guys, your Bogues, your Powers, your Peyton, they were going to have to make tackles because they were going to be 1v1 in certain scenarios. If everybody's blocked up, like the play at the goal line, it is the goal line, Boganowski in the back. Like there is no, if Boganowski does not make that tackle, it is a different game. And because Boganowski is able to make the tackle, OU is able to hold on comfortably. But Peyton Bowen has some highlight plays. I'm sure some of our secondary guys, with just how things went, are going to be Gorilla Nuts player of the game candidates possibly today. But Jacoby Johnson has the INT. One of the better games he's played this year. The group itself, it's so funny. And I want to hear feedback here from the chat. Missouri was very physical in their pass coverage on their end. And, man, it just did not seem – and I'm usually not big on complaining about the officiating, but there were multiple plays where the Missouri guy is doing the exact same thing that Oklahoma did on the other end and just not getting the daggum call. Does any team in the SEC, and because I'm not watching all these games throughout, get less home cooking in the officiating than Oklahoma does? Like, it feels like they get the short end. Whatever the official could, possibly throw, he throws. Whereas, like, if it's Bama, UGA, it feels like sometimes they pick up that flag. I thought the targeting on Powers, that was just not a smart play right there. You can't do that. You have to be smarter with what – had he not ducked his head and just pushed, which I think is what he was trying to say that he did, was he was just giving him a shuck, just giving him a good throw down. But because he ducked his head, you get the call. But from a run stopping scenario, D-Mack, and from limiting the big play down the field, Prabula, the thing that he was going to offer Missouri was he has the arm to stretch you vertically. And they tried to do that a lot, even if it was just to keep Oklahoma honest, to pick up the flag. And for the most part, the secondary stood tall and made really good plays. And they stopped him in scenarios when they needed to stop them. And then you had the penalty, and then the Jacoby Johnson INT, which was pretty poetic. But how do you feel that those guys played today?
Well, let's talk about the refs first, since you brought them up. In what world, in a game where even before they even start the game, both teams are super chippy. Both teams. Mizzou, right? We got bad blood. By the way, they haven't beat us since I think 90% of the people who are listening to this chat were not born the last time Mizzou beat us in Norman. Like straight up. They haven't beat us in Norman since the 60s. So if you were 70s baby to today, you were not alive the last time Mizzou came to Norman and got a dub. There's no way in heaven in a game like that you can call a penalty for some miscellaneous whatever occurrence happened, unless Jamar Chase spit on somebody. You know what I'm saying? Or punches are being thrown. You cannot arbitrarily throw a flag with full conviction and say that is a 15-yard penalty because Buddy falls into our bench where our guys are allowed to stand and talk their stuff. You are allowed to say, mother sucker, you blue. You can say that. You can't cuss, but I mean, you can talk your smack and you throw a flag. That's so heinous. You cannot. You brought us up. I will go to the DBs. Their DB never turns around. He chucks our guy to the sideline and arm bars him while holding his inside shoulder pad and never turns around. And it's a no call. If that's a no call, I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
But you can't then turn around and call Jacoby because the receiver is trying to clear him out and Jacoby grabs his hand. They literally just hold hands for 1 second and then Jacoby turns around. You can't do that. Those are so pivotal that you're making these subjective calls that impact the game in such a serious way. You can't. And then, by the way, Eli Bowen played well. His little short tail was looking like a midget out there, and they surely went to the well. They went to the well.
Oh, yeah, they tried.
Not pass interference. He's upfield. The receiver is upfield. Peyton Bowen cannot stop if the receiver stops because the ball's underthrown. So what does he do? He immediately turns around. There's nothing more you can ask of a DB to do. So for them to call that PI, I'm surprised they didn't call the one on Peyton, even though Peyton has great coverage when they run the inside seam. Peyton's beat.
Oh, yeah.
If the quarterback throws a perfect pass, he probably tackles him, but he's got a step. The officiating was atrocious. It's unfair for our guys to be expected to not touch the other team and then allow the other team to, again, I don't want to exaggerate, but be extremely handsy, not look back, and be consistently touching our player while the ball is in the air and call nothing. And it was the same ref.
Yeah.
The ref who didn't call it on their guy with, I think it was JV Gibson, did call it on Jacoby Johnson and also called it on Eli Bowen. It's our sideline. It's our sideline line judge or field judge or whatever the one he is. Like there's gotta be some level of fairness when that happens because those subjective plays impact the game in such a huge capacity. Hold on, I got one more. I was getting ready to go off. I was really upset. I think we blocked the field goal. Yeah, we blocked the field goal. And then here's the question I asked myself. Why is there a Missouri player close to our sideline on a field goal? So field goal protection's in the center of the field. Okay. We block the kick. The ball is bouncing. No one on our team is going to get it. How does a Missouri player end up on our numbers?
Yeah.
To even be getting blocked by by, I think it's Holton. It's Grayson.
Holton, it was Grayson.
Like what has to happen, which is what BV is saying. If you guys go watch that play, BV's livid because he's saying their guy initiated. Their guy has to choose to go towards our sideline to interact with our players.
Yeah.
Right. And Halton's like, oh, you want some beef? Halton gives him some beef. Now, yes, Halton humps him. We all saw it. So I withheld from being extremely upset because Halton houses him and then humps him.
Yeah.
But here's it. So I'm like, okay, I see why, right?
Yeah.
And I'm still upset because I'm like, the kid he has to go that way. But then in the third quarter, and this is why Greg McElroy gets on my freaking nerves too. Did anybody see what happened in the third quarter? I think it's Stone. They were on defense. And
Stone and the O lineman for Mizzou.
We stoned them. Stone kind of humps him a little bit if you see it. Yeah, I mean, he's lingering. The other guy goes and does exactly the same thing they penalize Halton for. It's the exact identical thing. Halton doesn't get in trouble for housing him. Halton gets in trouble for housing him and then kind of lifting the leg like, nah, I'm going to leave it on a little longer and kind of whatever, right? That's the exact same thing. Their old lineman sees what Stone is trying to do and does it to him, humps on top of him and kind of belly flops him. It's the exact same play. If you called it against Halton and say, well, technically, then you have to call it because there's no good reason for their offensive lineman to jump on the pile and then hump on Stone. So those things like that, to me, that's blatant. That's blatant. And then the Powers play, he set himself up. But everybody who's played football knows it takes this much movement with your head to look like you're launching because all he wanted to do was push him.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So the push was just this. It wasn't like he dove in there, but I get it in the context of how they want to call it now.
You have to call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He ducks it. Now, I think had he done the same thing and just not hit him so high, it was like a perfect storm. Had it been more to the chest
the
or
only
shoulder,
thing they said it was the launch. Yeah. They said the launch. The only reason they called it is because of this.
Yeah. So the one of the things that has gotten frustrating, and I think Venables, I was trying to figure out the context, and he was very upset. Is I do in these games where Oklahoma has played teams with just okay defensive lines, it is pretty astounding that OU gets almost no holding calls up to this point in the season. And it is almost as if they're officiating it on the curve a little bit. And it does feel very unfair. Almost every single play, there is a defensive lineman who gets penetration and a jersey that is grabbed. And I get that once you set the precedent of calling that, you have to call everything, but then call everything, right? It is very frustrating as a fan, as a spectator, to be watching the defensive line, which has turned into kind of the fun group to watch on the team, right? To go back and just see what they're doing, watching the stunts, seeing some of the things that they're doing strategically, right? Where sometimes they're not rushing upfield with a ton of aggression. Sometimes the zero is just staying home and kind of, playing chicken a little bit with the quarterback. Like OU is doing some really cool things because they are so athletic. They are so good on the front that they have options all day. But you see Wine almost every other play. His jersey is getting yanked down. Somebody's wrapping him up at the shoulder pads, and you could call it. It's really frustrating to watch because those, as you said, are the kind of calls that end up costing you a game. And if you're gonna just call I wonder. It feels like Oklahoma has gotten a lot of PI this year on them. When compared, it's tough because you're not watching every play of every other SEC game, but it does feel that it's been a little high, even by OU standards this year. But the lack of holding calls on the defensive front to me has been maybe more of the frustration. And I think at one point Venables was voicing his opinion on that because it might have been Jackson who actually got held, and I want to say it was like a third and 14 or one of
Ole
those
Miss.
third and longs.
Ole Miss game, he grabbed him from behind. The guy
Yeah.
literally grabs the back of his jersey, and they don't call it.
Yeah, it's been bananas all year, but by and large, the defense has helped OU win these football games this season. They have made enough plays and had few enough calls that they're sitting out here with 2 losses. D-Mack, any final word on the defense before we move over to the offensive side of the ball?
I think it needs to be stated that once again, you don't hear Guillory's name mentioned much. Teams don't throw at him very often. He's getting confident in his job.
At all.
I've been giving the Bowen brothers a lot of grief, so I want to give them their flowers. Eli played well today. That PI is a joke. Obviously, he has the blocked field goal, and just they tried to ISO him. You're right, but we've discussed this. How many times did they try to ISO him on one, and he's right there, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's something to be said about us mentioning that everybody in the SEC is going to try to match him up on their X receiver. And we saw them do it 3 times. And in my opinion, he went 3 for 3. The PI is a joke call. So I want to give him props. Peyton Bowen's been showing up. He has a couple of really key plays where he's robbing. And the reason I can tell he's robbing is because pre-snap he's at 12 and they're throwing like an 8-yard throw. And he's getting there as the ball's getting there. That means he's not bailing. That means he's sitting and robbing. And so I want to give Peyton Bowen more props on his ability to be where he needs to be and covering up air. And then obviously on the play where he doesn't get the PI, where he turns around. And if you guys notice how he does, it's pretty sick. He's beat. But as soon as he sees eyes, he turns his helmet, which will kill he didn't look back. And then instead of grabbing, he just leaves his hand in the receiver's stomach.
Mm-hmm.
So the receiver's here, but his hand is just like, it's kind of, so if the ball comes, he can kind of push it out. I thought that was just really being comfortable in a scenario where you probably feel a ton of anxiety because you're like, oh shit, I'm beat. For him to be able to just like do that routinely, I thought that was pretty dope. RSJ, a lot of people are going to give him grief for that play, but I'm just telling you guys, if a team can scheme the safety to be the guy who has to cover your best receiver down the field, everybody in America is going to throw that throw. And so, yeah, he shouldn't let the guy get 1.5 yards behind him, but it's not like he's in deep half. They're in some type of combo coverage, and they went 1v1. They matched up, and that was the guy that RSJ had to match up with, very similar to how Alabama did it last week, right? So I think our opponents are watching film saying in these clusters or these formations, we can expect this coverage, and all you got to do is identify the flat defender. As soon as you identify who the flat defender is, you can see who the matchups are going to be. Quarterback throws the matchup to RSJ's guy. That's football 101, textbook football. And so I would love to have a safety good enough to be able to cover that. You got an Earl Thomas or something, right? He could probably go out there and get her done. Let me use some Sooners. We don't want to use him, but I also say to myself, you're giving something up. There's a reason some people play corner and a reason some people play safety. And the reasons people play safety are more than just, can he 1v1 guard the fastest receiver on the opposing team's side. If the other team strategizes that, you got to give them props. And then what it makes me think too is like, why in the H do we never do that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
When I watch that play, yeah, damn it, RSJ, whatever. But at the same time, it's like, also, damn it, Ben Arbuckle. We are not taking that same advantage when those advantages are put in our, opportunities to make plays. And so that's how I look at it. And, yeah, as overall, say the DBs played well. Obviously, 2 picks. Oh, my bad. I told you Jacoby Johnson, but not you. This is to the world. I'm a Jacoby Johnson guard. To me, he should be the starter. It just makes too much sense. Next year, here's what I do. Here you go. Hot take. You guys ready? Bowen brothers are playing safety. Both of them. Kobe and Guillory are playing corner. Listen to me. And then you've got Powers, who's a 215-pound cheetah. To me, that just makes sense to me. Eli Bowen, as you guys can see again today, has proved his worth as an extremely intelligent ball player. Let him play safety coming down versus having to run with. He could be better than his brother. So anyway, that's my deal. Jacoby with another. Did he look like a receiver, bro? Did he catch that thing? Like he was playing.
Oh, it was phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Going up for the rebound. Yeah, yeah. I loved watching. He was a killer basketball player, but when he was when Oklahoma recruited him, the biggest thing for him was just how explosive he was. And that was actually a great example of like it's so easy for him when he's running to get his feet down and get up. Whereas you see like Satania on that throw, on the overthrow, where it's like right on his fingertips. He just missed times. I think they even reference it. He just doesn't quite jump at the right spot, So the parabola, like jumping when the parabola is at the wrong, the ball's at the wrong spot, for you to be taken off. Man, Jacoby does not, and he's so long. His length, the ground that he covers, I could totally see him if he was a little more physical. He's a 10-year vet in the NFL at the cornerback position. Like I just don't think he plays the spot physical enough. But today, I think one of the reasons he played was Venables saw that they were trying to pick on Eli. And Guillory has been just locked down all season and leaves almost no airspace for that ball to be caught. And I think Jacoby is a guy who he's a weapon. You got depth.
Don't mind the chat. Don't mind the chat.
You got depth all over the place, man. Seeing Eli in the secondary would be interesting. I think he would be. I'd have to see it. I think I like even at the safety position. I like the idea of having longer guys back there because to me, even if it's the length is like an RSJ, or a Boganowski, guys who just cover a little more space, a little quicker. But I get it. He's a guy who does cover ground just from his speed. He's a good straight line guy. He's a good athlete when it comes to flipping the hips. That's why he is able to win, because if he couldn't do that, he'd be cooked, 80% of the time. So good to see.
The number one key you need at safety is instincts. The number one key. You need to anticipate where the ball is going to be more than you need to be 6'2". RSJ's got his ass burned 2 weeks in a row, which I'm not going to, again, good scheme. And Boganowski got destroyed against Ole Miss in coverage. Like he was a man in sand. All I'm saying is they all bring different attributes. I think Eli, bigger, stronger, another year in the program, 5'9". I mean, anyway, I'm not going to make that comp. Yeah. I just think that he could help us as a nickel safety style versus on the outside.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Hardy's gotten a lot more snaps here lately. I think he has played better in this one. To wrap up the defense, I thought maybe the biggest thing of them all was OU did tackle really well in space today. There were a lot of one-on-one on an island tackles where guys brought them down, versus on OU side of the ball. And it might have even been just the difference in the game. Kinnick is running toward the sideline, is able to make a move on the boundary, shake a guy, and go get the first down. It was in a game when it's 17-6. Those plays right there, that extra 2 minutes that you have the ball, that extra little bit of time that your defense can be on the sideline, game planning, getting a rest, getting a breather, going over things, it matters. OU's offense is so puzzling, and we discussed it at the top of the show. It is so puzzling that they are able to generate yards and they generate points when they need to, when it feels like the game is in doubt, but they just aren't a team that creates separation. And we're going to dive into the offense position by position. But first, D-Mack, I want you to tell everybody about Crimson Red October. You just knocked out this book. You got this bad boy. It is live. We got a lot of people on the live stream today. Some who have already discussed that they've or put in the chat that they've pre-ordered. Tell us about Crimson Red October.
Man, I forgot about it. Yeah, guys, wrote a book. It's called a Crimson Red October, Story of Sooner Greatness. I guess that's important because we haven't won a game or won an Natty in 25 years. But I think the bigger thing is, guys, the behind the scenes conversations, the strategy and X and O's. I sent it to a couple of my teammates and I said, hey man, I want you to read it and just tell me your thoughts. And they were like, damn, I was like, do you remember some of the things that I referred to? Like, bro, I remember like yesterday, they were like, people are gonna really appreciate this context because it speaks to the game, the situations, the scenarios from a lens of the X's and O's, the Y's in the moment. And so proud of the project. First 200, I'm going to personally sign before we ship them out. We did 102 yesterday. I haven't checked. I've been watching the game, but we'll probably get to 200 today. So if you want to sign, I might even push it, take it back to the Natty. I remember the Natty year, bro. I guess it was probably Oklahoma State week through the Natty. Every week there'd be like 100 balls, and it pissed me off because now the boosters. You could tell all these smoozing people who got plugged with the university, they leave stuff, and so they'd be like, "Hey guys, come 15 minutes early," and there'd be hella Sharpie pens, and you'd have to sign footballs for 15 minutes. By the way, every day I used to be pissed. I used to be hella mad. Like, bro, I don't want to sign these damn footballs today, but like you could tell these are folks who was dropping some mad coin because they were like, "You got to sign them." Like they'd have an equipment guy there to check you off.
Sure. Yeah.
That you signed all the stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, I don't want to sign these damn balls. But anyway, I'll probably do the first 500. My goal is to sell 1,000. They're talking about doing 4 different volumes, and so we'll see if we do well this first time. I'll keep my author's hat on. I want the critiques. I'm very proud of the work. So there's 2 excerpts. If you click the crimsonred.com or crimsonredoctober.com, there's 2 free excerpts and you can critique me. By the way, it's 100% me. I had a I don't have the editor editing it yet, but this is my writings, my style. You can tell that I wrote it. Take a peek, critique it. If you like it, purchase one or Christmas gifts, whatever you want to do. But let's get back to the game, bro. We can talk about that another time.
Absolutely. D-Mack, the offense that they managed to put 14 points up on the board, plus the field goal. Sandell, again, just a weapon. He doesn't miss. Didn't have any long ones today, which, that was an issue in and of itself. There were moments when OU could have kept it on the ground, that there could have been more strategy in how they were trying to implement some of the play calls and put Sandell in a position to kick a 45-yarder, to kick a 50-yarder, and they would be real close. And Missouri, to their credit, got more aggressive earlier. Sometimes you'll see that aggression, the closer teams get to the red zone, you'll see them turn up the heat and bring more pressure, play a little closer to the line of scrimmage. But Missouri said, we're not going to give you that easy yardage from like the 50 to the 35, and Missouri played it as such. And OU was never able to get Sandell in a position to kick some of those kicks. But I want to start offensive line. Again, Foj didn't get near as many snaps as he normally gets. That we talked about it at the top of the show. Some positions on this team, guys get to make errors and still keep their jobs, still play. And on the offensive side of the ball, or at least on the O-line, you make one error, Beanbo is pulling your backside out of there and you get no shot. And in this one, probably, Bama presented a test from a pass blocking standpoint. I felt that they had some really good edge rushers and guys who got home off the edge. Missouri, to me, they looked a little bigger, a little girthier on the line of scrimmage, and I think that presented problems. Just more maturity, more mature bodies on their defensive line, and just more grown man strength. And to me, that was an issue, at least until late in the game, right? It felt like OU had times where the ground game was working and they just go away from it. So you wonder about that. We said in the pre-show it could be a Michigan type game. Well, OU leaned on Michigan in the second half of that game and wore them down, and they finished Michigan off with a touchdown to separate at the end. And in this one, they couldn't do it. So let's start O-line, D-Mack. How do you feel those guys fared in this one this afternoon?
It's just for me all around on offense. You're going to hear me consistently say it's a little unfair for our guys to play with one hand behind their back because there's no continuity, there's no rhythm. I have no answer, Barry, for we finally attempt to run the ball in the third quarter and we get good yardage on first and second down and then we throw a fade. I have no good answer, Barry, for the first 10 plays of the game. We don't even attempt to run the ball with our running back. I have no answer to you brought it up, and I think I know the answer. Foje has a rough Q1, and Missouri's playing with a ton of edge on both sides of the ball. And I think Derek's a guy who is healthy now, and so they probably want to see what he had. And then once they put him out there, they probably were going to give him until he made a big mistake. Which, by the way, he got a hold. Derek Simmons did get a hold, but I just think as a freshman, you have some latitude to do it. I don't agree. I'm not saying I agree. I'm saying that's probably why. The offensive line was sufficient. They were sufficient. There's a 3rd and 4. We call it. What pisses me off is we call an RPO, but we have a 3rd and 4 QB draw. But Mateer has the option to throw the slant if it's there. It's the one where we see the whole crowd, the field, the TV. We all see the crease that he can run through, but he kind of sees it, and then because he can't throw it, they sack us. He should have just called QB draw. Hey, dude, don't think, run the damn play, right? And of course, the offensive line gets a sack. It's a 3rd down. In fact, it's the second possession of the third quarter. Pisses me off because we've got a little stuff cooking where I think we make a 1st or 2 prior to that play. And so, those type of plays, here's what I think. The offensive line is good enough to beat anybody in America. I believe, and it's crazy to say that, thinking about last year and September and early October of this year. But guys, money downs, those guys are blocked. Go watch quarterbacks, what they have to throw against when we bring 4 or 5 on money downs. They ain't sitting there reading a book. There's bullets flying and the quarterback got to make a play. It's not our offensive line's fault that 90% of the time when any type of pressure comes, watch this. I'm going to interact with the chat. Chat, if we get any type of pressure, it's a pass play. 90% of the time, what's our quarterback going to do? I just want to see what the chat says before I respond. Chat, what's the quarterback going to do 90% of the time if pressure comes? I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to give any context. Somebody says he's going to run. Be more specific. Runs out of the pocket. Where? There
you go.
No, that's not the answer I want to see yet. He rolls to his right.
He rolls to his right.
Every time, guys. 90% of the time. 90% of the time. See, it's gonna irk my soul. We run some type of pitch action where somebody pitches it to him and he ends up with the ball. It's I want to say it's 2nd and 6. Okay. Oh, we're gonna cue this one up, Barry. We're gonna cue this one up. We run some type. I didn't catch it. But somebody pitches it to him, and then somebody goes around him like he's going to pitch it. He doesn't pitch it. He's got the ball. Yeah. We're cooking. We done picked up a couple of 1st downs. That play right now, if he just runs to the flag, he gets the 1st down easy. I get it. The play is probably designed for him to throw the ball to somebody else, but they're in a big zone. Everybody in America knows they're in a big zone, which means they probably didn't bite. There's somebody with deep thirds responsibility or deep quarters responsibility. So somebody's deep, right? On that play, go watch the play. He literally has all day. He's waiting. And now he gives the backer the angle to get back into position. When if he had just seen it, it's not open, go get the 1st, keep the chains moving. We're on the cusp of field goal territory. He doesn't do it. And it's those type of plays. And of course, we don't pick up the 4th down either, or the 3rd down. We don't pick up the 3rd down. So now we've got a punt. And it's like fudge. On 2nd down, coach queued up a play. But the safety valve is always just run the ball and get what you can get. He's sitting, waiting. And then he gives and now he's like, I'm going to run now. Bro, you're not outrunning Trotter. Trotter's the best middle backer in the conference. I mean, he's one of them. Like, you're not outrunning that dude. You know what I mean? And you could have 2 seconds ago, but yeah, it's the offensive line, Barry. If you ask me the question, the short answer is they're good enough to beat anybody. That's my answer.
Yeah, I would generally agree with that. I think that the run game, if Mateer was able to just present any threat on that intermediate passing game, I actually think the run game would be relatively successful. I don't think there's anything really wrong at this point. Early in the year, you could tell like backs weren't hitting the hole. There were just issues with guys going unblocked. In this one, and you might have some different thoughts, it's not even that there's not a hole there, right? There are consistently holes and the backs are consistently hitting the holes. It's just that the backers, the second and third level defenders, are converging so fast that they just go for 5 and 6 instead of going for 20 and 25 and 30. And OU doesn't have a lot of scenarios where they're where guys are overrunning the play because everybody can just kind of sit and have everything in front of you. They're not concerned about Mateer on any kind of action. They're not concerned about Mateer beating them over the top. There is no concern. There's no pressure when they do bring pressure on getting home, right? Because they know that Mateer is not going to be a factor to stretch the field in that way. I think that the offense has done enough to win them games and produce when their back is against the wall, when they've absolutely had to have something. It has been almost been a miracle. It is actually crazy to think that as bad as they have been statistically, eye test, the analytics, as bad as they have been, it's wild that situationally, when they've needed scores, they've been able to do it. How quickly they were able to flip this game from 3-0 to 14-3 and 14-6 was wild. But then they never go back to some of the stuff that had been successful. They try something else. They do something different. To me, going to the trickery or the trickeration when you have an O-line who, if you had just stuck with the run game and then developed some things off of it, by the fourth quarter, X-Rob is not hurt. He's not dinged up. He's running for 50 in the fourth, and then you throw in a guy like Blaylock and you let him break off runs. And I'll also say this too. I don't know what the total sack number is now on the year. I would almost say that 75% of the sacks are Mateer and just him holding on to the ball. And today, this was the first time all season that I had this epiphany. I remember back in 2021 watching Riley in the offense and watching Rattler early on in the season before Caleb Williams took over in the Texas game. And I posted back then, that was like on the old Rivals board. And I did a post. Actually, I think you might have commented on the post, but there was a play where it was pre-Texas, but Caleb had gone in and him and Rattler were running almost the exact same concept within the offense. The only difference and reason why it was successful, one of them was a sack or a no yardage situation. On the other one, Caleb ends up picking up yardage. The only difference was the trigger and how quickly Caleb recognized, I got to be decisive. How quickly Caleb just made a decision.
Yep.
It doesn't even have to necessarily be the right decision. It can just be a decision. We've seen it this year where multiple guys are open. Either one, if you score or you pick up the first down or you gain yardage, both choices, regardless of what they were, are the quote unquote like right choice.
The right answer.
You may have one choice that is more right or more successful, But either way you go, I just think of the play at the goal line against Alabama where he's got two guys wide open and you just need to pick. Just decide and get the ball there. And that to me, like that was Rattler's issue. And that was something that he ironed out a little bit at South Carolina. And then obviously he's done better to stay in the NFL. You got to be at least somewhat good with that. But Mateer is just so indecisive. And I think the most frustrating part is he's not even really like patting the ball on those plays. He is decisive, but he's decisive like a tick too late. It's a little bit too late. And because of that, he gets the passes batted down. He has situations where he could have gone or run for 10 yards. He ends up getting sacked. And he just, that trigger is not going off fast enough. And he is just a tick late on every single one of those things. And then you couple a tick late with a very elongated release because your throwing platform is not good. You're not getting into your feet. You're not getting into your hips. The ball doesn't have the right velocity. You know, it's funny. He's using so much arm on the deep throws, but then when it comes to the short stuff, is actually generating very little velocity in some scenarios, and the ball's not getting there quick enough. So especially on the stuff that's like to the sideline, that's why a lot of those throws are close to getting picked. Like they from a field math standpoint, just geometry, if the ball is late and doesn't have velocity, that is a recipe for being intercepted. Like it is just the way it works. Athletes are way too fast, way too explosive. I want to go to receiver, D-Mack. Keontez Lewis is back for the Sooners. He has a handful of really good plays. I think that is a big deal for this team. I felt like Mateer was at his best early in the season when Keontez was an option, when they had him and Lewis playing alongside each other. Giovanni Gibson, it was good to see him, you know, get a pass. Why not, though, D-Mack? And tell me if this is just crazy. Why not run? OU used to do this with Brandon Jones, right? Where it would be, and I know that's a little blast from the past. So Sooner fans, if you remember this, you know, talking in the chat, one of the concepts that you guys had under I think it was Long at that time, is they would put Keywan back in that eye. Brandon Jones would be the lone receiver, and OU on 3rd and 3 would just say everybody's hugged up because they think Keywan's going to get the ball. And then they go true play action, Keywan, and they hit Brandon Jones over the top. Like, what is the difference between Brandon Jones going for that kind of ball and doing that with the Giovanni Gibson? Like, why is that just so out of the question to get him isolated when the defense is playing so close to the line of scrimmage already? Why not? Especially if you're going to actually line up and try to run like dives, like the halfback dive. If you're going to do that, why not have some play action off of it where you get a guy like Giovanni just saying, hey, run as fast as you can, and we're going to throw it up. It's a one-on-one scenario. If you get it out front or even have a jump ball, he's going to have a chance to make the catch. Like, to me, that makes too much sense. You know, but what are your thoughts?
Well, shout out to bringing up BJ. That's little bro, man. Love him to death. NFL dude, 3rd round draft pick. You know what I'm saying? Put some respect on his name. Well, let's use a reference to today, because they tried to do that today. The difference is they did it today with Burks. Like, you've got Giovanni Gibson on one side. You've got Keontez Lewis. These are both 6+ foot dudes. Why are we running the ISO fade? Which, by the way, they literally queued it up. I think I said on the pregame pod, you were like, what should we do? I said, first play, I'm throwing a fade just to let teams know you can't line up at 8 to 9 yards. So I was like, oh, look, they ran it. But why would I run that play to to Burks? Let me tell you how easy it is, Barry. You ready? The reason they didn't is because Burks plays Z, and Z's on the right side of the formation. And, you know, they wanted to run it to the Z receiver because the Z had the matchup they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You ready? You just say, hey, Burks, flip. And then you put Giovanni at Z for that one play and you run. Like, there's no good reason, in other words, right? I'm being facetious and saying it's dumb. And I don't like to call people or ideas or concepts, but like our offense is so asinine. That's stupid. If we struggle manufacturing drives, manufacturing points, manufacturing rhythm, then you know what you have to do? You have to instigate it. So if the play calls for us to get the guy we want, and I arbitrarily play X, and Josh Norman arbitrarily plays Z, and coming out of the huddle, I see the DB we want to get Josh Norman on is on the other side. I am smart enough to say, oh, I play H on this play. He plays X. Like, these guys know the playbook inside and out. They rep it all day. There's no good reason why. I'm not talking about the one, the first play of the game.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the one that should have been pass interference on Cervantes. I'm talking about the one they queued up second quarter. Yep. Second quarter down our sideline, which is what we want because we got our guys influencing the call. And by the way, Burks beats him. And I guess it should be stated, our quarterback should just be able to play catch with our receiver. So number 100%. One, he's open and we just miss it. But number 2 is, if we're trying to put ourselves in the best position to win, why not just put Giovanni as Z for that one play? It's not as if Giovanni doesn't know if he's playing Z. He can't line up off the line or on the line of scrimmage. It doesn't make sense. So the quarterback's bad because he misses the throw, but the scheme sucks ass. If the scheme is designed, okay, it would be like Missouri. Remember, everybody's like, oh, RSJ needs to be a 2. People were putting that in the chat, which that's not even my argument. My argument is I give props to teams if they queue up their best player on our worst defender. That's good football. Mm-hmm. So if we have a game plan that says, hey, when that DB is in, we want to pick on him. Why would we pick on him with our 5'8" dude who hasn't caught a deep ball since Michigan? He did. He got a cool one on their sideline. He hasn't caught a deep ball since Michigan. Why are we queuing him up? And it better not be arbitrarily because he plays Z. Because if that's the case, that is dumb. That's dumb. Georgia, you say the best team in America. I say the best coach team in America would put their biggest, strongest, longest guy on the weak link so that they have more opportunities for a catch radius, pass interference, Moss situation. He might catch it and break the tackle, right? Burke's only option is to just run away, which he did. So the quarterback needs to complete it anyway. But guys, that to me, we are not good enough. We're not good enough to just say, yeah, that's going to the Z, irregardless. We need to say, hey, man, we struggle. We got the guy we want and the coverage we want down in distance. We've got single coverage. There's no safety in the play. We need the guy we want going against him. Missouri did it. It's pretty obvious to me that 3 of the deep throws were on Eli Bowen. I wonder why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that they and I see the chat kind of discussing Mateer. I actually think Mateer, from just a general accuracy standpoint, when he is on balance and when he is in rhythm, I don't think he's a bad quarterback, right? I think he is a guy who can deliver accurate throws, particularly in the intermediate side. He's way better. I've seen the like Trevor Knight comps, and I know statistically it's to me, Mateer is a way more accurate thrower of the football than Trevor Knight was. I think you have a couple things.
Way more?
I think when he is in rhythm and on balance, absolutely, 100%.
When he's in rhythm? How often is he in rhythm?
That's the issue. That's the issue. And those are the things that got to be coached. I think just natural arm talent, he's smoother than Knight. He has the capability there to do it. And he has flashes where he does.
All I gotta say is
this.
Let me say this. Knight has Bama. That's a skin. And then Knight has A&M, where he played as the guy and was a quality quarterback at A&M. So I'm just saying, Mateer hasn't shown me enough to put him in the Trevor Knight conversation yet, except he hasn't thrown pick sixes to K-State. Trevor Knight was known for throwing them damn pick sixes to K-State. I'm not with you 100% on that one, Barry, because Trevor,
That's
Mateer is playing terrible. Mateer's
I
playing terrible.
think Mateer, or I think Knight had Heupel as an OC, and people could negate that as much as they want. I think
No,
Heupel at that stage in his career, way better OC.
running laps around Berkman. I'll give you that.
100%. And just from that, I think has the advantage. And Knight statistically, game to game, yes, he has the Alabama game, but played in the Big 12. In the Big 12, they had a few good teams at that point. And you're right about A&M, but A&M also had they ran him a ton, and that was a large portion of their game plan. And eventually, the teams in the SEC sort of figured that out, and I think he even got hurt later in the year, if I remember right. But point being is, I think Mateer is good enough for OU to do what they need to do to go win 2 games in the playoff. I simply think, to your point, there has to be some thought and just some dedication to getting your playmakers isolated in better situations. Right? Is there?
Sorry. No,
I'm trying not to get engaged with it. I disagree. As critical as I have been of Mateer and the mechanical element and just the way he's moving at times, I still think he's a good quarterback. I still think
take him over Trevor Knight.
Yeah, I would 100%. Yeah, 100%.
I think Trevor Knight could ball in this offense. Trevor Knight's a better runner with the football. Don't forget, Trevor Knight was a 4.55 caliber guy. To me, I respect your opinion. Trevor Knight's a better runner and a better thrower.
I would disagree on the throw-in, but fair enough. Trevor is more athletic, and some of these runs. And Trevor later on was pretty solid at the RPO stuff. Like he got better at it. To me, that was just never Heupel's like bread and butter in terms of like call, and he developed it more later, which is why the offense. One of the reasons the offense struggled. I don't think that was Heupel's thing, right? But I think Mateer is capable in this scheme today in 2025. OU and their defense, coupled with who they have on the offensive side of the ball, like outside of Alabama, the receiving core wise, since we're still kind of on the receivers, now that they have Keontae's back, like Alabama's receiving core, you'd put ahead of Oklahoma's, right?
Yes.
Georgia's receiving core, you'd put ahead of Oklahoma's.
Yes.
But then after that, Ole Miss, obviously, I think, I think I would put Ole Miss ahead, or maybe even.
No, they've got that. Yeah. Oh, I would. But it's unfair because we just don't know what our guys can do. I don't 100%. Know what they can do.
They're not. I've seen criticism of the receiver position and people saying, OU needs receivers. I actually think they have enough at that spot. They consider, if you watch the film, if you watch the plays, guys consistently get separation. To your point, Burks was open. He's just missed. Like, there are plays this year. Satania right now, if you took the plays that Mateer has missed, Satania would be close to 1,000 yards receiving, or would be at 1,000 yards receiving by now. On the deep throws, on the outs, he would be, what is he sitting at now? Like, what, 740, 750?
I think he had 640 going into the game, so about 740, 750.
So 740, I think he would be at 1,000 yards today if he didn't miss on that. And you look around the SEC, there's not a ton of 1,000-yard receivers, man. He totally has the capability to be a top dog in this conference at the receiver spot. Keontae's, Giovanni, Burks was solid last year at different times. I do think Burks, we discussed this a little bit, just like Eli, he's disadvantaged size-wise, and I don't know why is he. I can't remember if I heard this brought up or if it's just something I noticed today, but so often they have him blocking on some of the like bubble concepts. And and he is not the guy. Today they actually threw him the ball a couple of those times, but so far this year he's been the blocker in a lot of those scenarios. So I just thought that was confusing. I will say, kind of staying in the Mateer vein, then I want to move to backs. I think he was better with some of the footwork today on the quick game. I think that was a positive. I think he got those out a little faster. And I do think he had some more throws where the throw to Satania where he takes it 87. I thought he was on balance and played well there. He just is too inconsistent with the mechanics. Like that's what we said at the start of the season, that the sidearm and the mechanical issues when they started to play teams that were good was going to be an issue. And couple that with scheme, and this is what you have.
Hey, let me say this. I said in the pre-pod again. I gotta blame. Blame's a terrible word. I just have to ask the question. Nah, I'm not gonna say it. A quarterback's gotta improve.
Yeah,
quarterback's gotta improve. We gotta hit the strike for more often. I also equally feel our offensive coordinator has to have a better feel for the game. Ben Arbuckle, the beginning of the game, our scripted plays, I hope he doesn't go to the podium and says, "Oh, we script our first 15 plays," because if that's the case, he sucks at it. He's terrible at it. So I think we park that there. And then third downs. Like, what are we doing? I could not believe, Barry, all game. We're like, we need to run the ball on third down. And then they decide to line up in power I. And then I'm like, oh, they're going to run action. 3 tight ends. We're going to run some type of tight ends level. And we literally run behind the center guard gap. Like, I cannot believe that is the best we can come up with. We run an RPO QB draw. It hurts my eyes. I know the fans were going crazy. Mm-hmm. We're up 11. We're getting the ball consecutive possessions at the midfield strike. We've got a kicker who can make 55-yarders. Like if we had done enough to kick 2 55-yard field goals with that momentum we had in the third quarter, you would not hear me complain, because I would have said they had a plan. They knew if they could get up 3 scores, mm-hmm. right, that they could win it. They had just gotten to the 35-yard line, kicked 2 more field goals, gone up by 17. Like that would have made too much sense to me. But listen to me, guys. We're going to lose a game because of that. And I hope they clean it up next week. I'm going to talk about things I would do. I would have played Hawkins today. I would not have played Hawkins as a punishment to Mateer. I would have told Mateer, because there's no redshirt threat, I would have said, hey, guys, we got a Hawk package. We're going to try it once or twice. Hawkins, it's ball security, damn it. Right? O-line, do I have you guys as faith? Hell yeah, coach. If they've been practicing this and this is something they've had because Mateer had the thumb, which I presume, I assume, I would have brought it in. And I would have given Hawkins a chance to run a package. By the way, the package doesn't have to just be wildcat. It could be some safe throws. If they line up in this front and we're in this formation, we know, right, this is what we're trying to hit. It just makes too much sense, because our quarterback, who's playing worse at their position, Chat and Barry, who's playing worse at their position than Mateer's playing at his position? That gets to have premium snaps. Samuel? Maybe. Samuel's probably better at his job than Mateer is at his right now. And I'm not even, and this is not, I am not trying to create a hot take. I'm not trying to be controversial. Mateer's not playing well. And if let's say now we're in championship mode, what do we do to give ourselves the best chance? If we're not going to move Giovanni Gibson to receiver when we get the isolation we want, like most teams do, right? If we're not going to run the football on 3rd and short, consecutive drives when we're up 11 and plus territory or close to it, right? Like we've got to have what are we just going to hope things magically improve? You know what I mean? So I don't see a good reason why there isn't a Hawk package. And again, I'm not saying we bench Mateer. I'm not saying that. We're going to need him. I'm saying we see what we have in Hawk. We see how the team responds to Hawk. We give Hawk a chance to give the defense something else to think about. And we see if we get some type of strategic advantage. We might get Hawk, and then they always play cover 1, cover 0. Now the game is easier for everybody else because you take all of the disguise that, hey, man, if this guy comes in, we got to stop the run. We might get the matchups we really love with Hawk in the game. We don't even test it. I just think that it's not good enough. Somebody said Wilson. Guys, I would die to have Wilson call the plays right. I would die to have Wilson call Ben Arbuckle's plays, because you guys do know Wilson wouldn't be running what Arbuckle's running. His offense doesn't look like Arbuckle's, but Wilson could probably call those plays. Yes, hell freaking yes. Let's try it, because I want to win a championship more than I want to protect Ben Arbuckle's feelings.
I agree
more
with
than
that.
I want to be politically correct. More than I right, like absolutely we should.
I would just be curious to see, and I know kind of the Mateer comments, and I don't disagree in necessarily, giving Hawkins a chance. I do think what we've seen in Hawkins is a guy who, similar to Mateer, still struggles to complete some of the throws that you need to be able to complete in this offense. He's faster. He is more explosive in the straight line. And if he gets behind the defense or even gets the corner, he's picking up first downs where Mateer is getting caught for a 2 and 3 yard gain. And the QB run stuff, you almost at this point, one of the reasons that it will work for you at times is because you use it as a changeup. You use it as a surprise. You use it when the defense is playing you one way and you want to keep them honest. Maybe the run game traditionally is not working, but you have done some different things and you just need to pick up a first. OU doesn't have the luxury of breaking out the QB run on, 3rd and 7 at midfield and picking up a first. So I would be curious to see what Wilson would look like calling plays, because the flow of everything is just, even on the shovel pass that they ran to X-Rob, D-Mack, it didn't feel like that was it felt like a trick play. It didn't feel like something that was within the offense, right? I remember it being run in 2000. I remember that there was a rhyme and reason for it, right? You would have a bunch of plays where the offense is doing this, and then on this play they do the same thing, except Q stops at the line of scrimmage and they do the shovel. So that play felt like and they almost don't pick it up because Mateer holds on to the ball too long.
Oh, yeah. Facts.
Like they almost mess it up. And it didn't look very clean. It looked like a play that, that obviously they've worked, but I just, that is puzzling to me. It's almost like the team needs to scale back what they are doing, figure out the 5 or 6 plays that they do really well, or the handful of concepts, and then just rep the mess out of those. And then out of those, you figure out your counters, your ways of doing things. I would love to see what the run game would look like if you just had like some foundational things you just stuck with, right? Because in this one, this was a thought that I had. You've played Alabama, you played Tennessee, you're not ripping the ball down the field at all in those games. And then you come out and you play Missouri, and then now all of a sudden you're stretching them vertically. Is Mateer that much better today against Missouri than he was a week ago against Alabama, when you also need, and against Alabama, you didn't do it once. So I don't know, just curiosity. How do you feel the running backs played, man? X-Rob, I think, he was not himself. He lacked a little explosiveness, and I think he got banged up a little bit there at the end. But how do you feel those guys played?
Listen, the kid was out there working his tail off. He was falling forward, 3-4 yards of carry. You know, a couple of them he got stopped at or pretty close to the line of scrimmage, but there's just not enough there for us to make a real assessment. We got a couple possessions where he's starting to move the pile and get some level of consistency, and then we throw deep. So I think when I do my 10 thoughts, I'm gonna make it short and sweet on some of these. Most of the position groups on offense are gonna get a 75 because they playing winning football. No one, Satania makes a huge play at receiver. We gotta throw him some love for that. The running backs, they work. I would tell you this: there's a play X Rob catches. Mateer hits X Rob in the flats in rhythm. He's got one man to beat. It's the play they jump off sides. Mizzou jumps off sides and he takes X Rob. X Rob has no business trying to run that guy over. The guy has given up his angle. X Rob can cut up and get the first. He doesn't. He tries to he runs the guy over kind of, and then we still have to. So we take the penalty and it's 3rd and 3, and then you know what? We pick it up though. I think that's our scoring. One of our scoring drives. I think the play after that we run the wham. Have I talked about the wham block yet? If you guys go to my Twitter, we run QB run. By the way, this is a play I gotta give Ben Arbuckle props, and I want to explain it on here so people understand, because people didn't understand what I was saying. So we have all year long put Kanik in a nub, and then run him across the formation to block the end defender at the line of scrimmage or to lead up in the hole. Right, we've done it all year, and it's had different levels of success. The most recent that comes to mind is Alabama on Mateer's touchdown. We run QB draw. Mateer cuts up under the block. So when Kanik goes in motion, his responsibility is to kick out that last defender. They don't block that guy. He's Kanik's guy. It's an easy block. Okay. Kanik doesn't do a great job, but whatever. Mateer gets up in there. The play today, listen to me. This is why we know Ben Arbuckle, he's an intelligent guy. A defense is taught when someone is trying to wham block you to wrong shoulder it. In other words, you don't want to let them kick you out. You want to cross their face and get inside of it and blow it up. Okay. And as a defender, if you see a wham block coming, if I'm a linebacker scraping, I want to stop because they're trying to get me to over pursue, and the wham block is going to give them an alley underneath me. Okay. So that's how we've run it all year. On this respective play, we are running QB sweep, counter sweep, whatever you want to call it, to the same side as the wham block. So Kanik's coming across the formation. That DN sees him. Go watch it. He's trying to duck under Kanik. Versus if the Kanik isn't there, he just keeps contained, and we can't get the play. The back, or it's after a safety. The safety scraping, Barry. The safety scraping across the formation. He sees the wham block and he stops for a second. And so what Arbuckle did is he created the wham action, which told both of those defenders, the DN said, I better try to wrong shoulder it. The safety said, I better slow down because they're wham blocking, and it allowed X-Rob to reach the defender. So now X-Rob is able to give Mateer the corner, and that's how Mateer gets out. And the guy who almost tackles Mateer is the guy who slowed down for half a second because he saw the wham action. So, to me, that's the nerd play design that I like. Oh man, that's awesome. And by the way, I posted on my Twitter. You guys can see it. Everybody's like, Kanik sucked on the block. It doesn't matter because his job is to get those guys to stop, see him, and break their technique, and that's how X-Rob gets the reach. Beautifully designed play. We pick up a 3rd down on it. So it's one of those things where you're like, okay, this guy knows how to make some stuff cook. And then 5 possessions after that, we're running, Mickey Mouse Club offensive playbook.
Yeah, OU has one more game left here in the regular season. And if they can get this done against LSU, they are going to be in the playoff. Now, I would say you'd have to imagine them with a little bit of time. They come up with something. And what we said it last night, when you're playing defense as good as they are, and then in bowl games, historically, Venables has been really good. Granted, the playoff, a little different scenario, not as much time to prepare in some of those early round games. You're playing those a little bit sooner, but I still like Oklahoma's chances with the defense that they play, with how much those guys, care about each other. I thought it said a lot. You don't know what's being said, but you're seeing Kip run off the field with Reggie Powers and just talking him up as a leader on the team. That stuff matters. And I know when Venables talks about there being a brotherhood on the team and there being just quality accountability, the guys like each other, they're playing with each other, that they're not playing against, that there's a lot of just good camaraderie within the units. This team could go do something in an era of so much parity because of NIL and because of that there not being a 2022 2021 Georgia type team where they've just stacked 5-star after 5-star for 4 years and they're just loaded. You don't have any squads like that. All of these teams now, they've all got talent sort of sprinkled here, sprinkled there, and then they're trying to be good on the margins, getting value where they can get value. So the game has changed. OU has just as good a shot as any to go out there with the way they play defense. OU plays defense as elite as any of the best offenses in college football play offense. And when one side of the ball is that good, and then you have special teams playing elite, you're going to have a chance. I did see, Mateer did not turn the ball over today. That was huge. Caden Helms, we talked about top of the show. He had a couple misses, but you got to see him catch the ball today. He looked pretty fluid out there running. Doesn't look awkward. Doesn't look like it's foreign to him. And then Kanik making some plays. So OU has playmakers. They got guys who, when the ball is in their hands, they're able to go do something with it. You just would love to see that happen a little bit more and there be some consistency. D-Mack, the segment that Sooner Nation knows and loves. We do it every single post-game podcast. Gorilla Nuts player of the game. We are going to do this today. OU with one game left. One more regular season Gorilla Nuts award after this one. Defense is usually where we'll start, and I'm going to allow you, as tradition goes, to have the floor first on this one. Who is your defensive standout Gorilla Nuts player of the game today? Chat, drop yours in the comments in the live chat.
Yeah, Eli got it last week. He deserved it. He had another really good game today. The defensive line as a unit, I've given them the actual Gorilla Nuts before as a unit. They had a really good game, 4 sacks, I believe. Backers, Heineke and Kip both played very aggressive. I think McKenzie makes a couple of key tackles early on that really stifles their running game and lets their running back think twice before just running through things. But I believe Missouri wanted to get us to suck up on the run and then get some stuff over the top. Jacoby makes a really good interception, and he doesn't play enough for me to give him his Gorilla Nuts. I'm actually going to say, man, believe it or not, I'm going to say Peyton Bowen. Peyton is a guy who has solidified the defense, has not been picked on since the last one that comes to mind that I can think of was Auburn in the slot. They put Coleman in the slot. It's interesting, right? We talk about situational football. Auburn's offense sucks. So you know what Auburn does on a play? They say, hey, we're going to take our best receiver. We're going to line up in the slot, even though he's an X. We're going to put him in the slot so we can get the matchup, right? Like, to me, that just makes too much sense. It just came to my mind as we said it. But Peyton Bowen, man, really good game tackling, really good game coming up in force. I really like the play where he doesn't panic on that ball and he's able to turn around and make a play on it. And I just think overall it was a really good win by the defense. But let me tell you guys something. Usually, when your defense doesn't give up a lot of touchdowns, it's because of great safety play. Safeties are the difference between field goals and touchdowns. Safeties are the difference between first downs and third downs. And so I think maybe it's more so just the last 3 or 4 games he's been picking it up since I called him a 5-star jet. People still give me a hard time about that.
Five-star Jag.
But I think Peyton Bowen has a good game. Heineke's a good pick. Stone's, I was actually going to pick Stone as my number 2. Stone made some big time plays. But give me Peyton Bowen. Solid. Shout out to him. 6 points given up by the defense. Some key 3rd and 4th down pickups. He was key in some plays. Great game by him. I'd say 2 or 3 weeks in a row.
Man, in this one, maybe he has gotten one this year, maybe not. I am going to go with Grayson Halton, man. 7 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Believe he also had a sack or was in on a sack.
He got the sack, but they gave it to Wine. But it was really
Did they? Okay. He has been consistent all year long. And to be a guy, he was a part of Venable's first recruiting class. I remember watching him run track. Big fella was out there running the 100-meter, getting after it with where he went. He went some school up north. I can't remember where. And he was out there getting after it. And I said back then, man, I was a little unsure if he could put the weight on. His frame was just one of those frames. I don't know if you remember that. You just couldn't quite tell. Man, he committed. He stayed the course. He has not lost much of that athleticism at all, if any. And when you bring in guys like Stone, you bring in guys like Jackson, you have, 5-star PJ Adeboire in that recruiting class, right? Guys like Grayson Halton, who were program built, those guys can sometimes fall underneath the radar. And I think when it comes to defensive line play, he may be more consistent as anybody, especially as a guy playing the 3-tech or playing kind of that center guard spot where he's got to get upfield and rush the passer, right? Because they don't really ask Jaden to do that. He does, but they don't ask him to do it like they ask Grayson to do it. And Grayson in those scenarios has been phenomenal. But in a game where you need a guy to have an edge, you need a guy who's going to be a tone setter along the front. To have 7 tackles as a defensive tackle, in a game like this where a lot of the tackles are going to be made either in the backfield or on the outside, and you're a guy playing inside, like his penetration along with Jaden's was paramount in them stopping Missouri's game. And athletically, I think NFL wise, he's gonna have success. He's really explosive. He's good with his hands. He's gotten really strong. I'm curious where he goes draft wise. He's going to test really well, especially in all of the agility drills. He's going to run a really solid 40. I think he's going to have a very explosive 10-yard split. He is a player who, just from an athletic standpoint, leaves very little to be denied playing in the interior. So give me Grayson Halton, Gorilla Nuts, player of the game. And by the way, if we are going to go celebrations as a big man, especially, I think he has some of the best celebration dances on the team. Like, it's not too much, but he has some stuff that's kind of uniquely him. And he only does it when he's made a big play,
right?
When he's done something in the backfield, when it truly matters. That means something. Big man has some quality work. I was considering Boganowski too. He played a good game. I think he had 4 or 5 tackles, had the huge stop at the goal line that we talked about, where if Missouri is able to score there, it might have been a little early for an onside kick. I'm trying to remember how much time was left in the game at that point. And
no, that was second quarter.
That was second. Was that okay?
Going in before halftime.
That's right. It was right at the goal line before half. So just huge play at the goal line. That mattered, right? With OU getting the ball back at half. Every single one of those plays is very, very important. Offensive side of the ball, he's gotten it a ton this season on the offensive side. Did not get it the week that he fumbled against Ole Miss. But going to go Isaiah Satania for Gorilla Nuts player of the game on offense. He's the guy who's been the most explosive player this whole season. He's the only guy that can catch those short passes, or seemingly do it, catch those short passes and take them 75, take them 80. And OU needed every bit of that today. It gave them a chance to separate. So D-Mack, for you, Gorilla Nuts offensive player of the game, who you got?
You see how Barry set that up? Everybody knew there was a ton of options on defense and one good option on offense. Yeah, Mackey, I'm gonna let you go first on defense so I can go first on offense. I like that. I like that. I like that. No, I'm not gonna pick him because you did, and obviously he's the most deserving. But just outside of that, I think it's also important for us to give some props, and I'm gonna pick a position, and I'm gonna stay at the receiver position, and it's X. Right when Mateer has the option to throw the ball to JV Gibson, who makes a touchdown on a power pass. I don't care if it's an RPO. I still call it power pass. They show the ball, backers jump. We throw the pass behind it. It's like a pop pass to your receiver. And then also Cavantes. I think Cavantes coming back is going to be nothing but a plus for this offense because he made some plays and was a guy who was pivotal for us earlier in the season. And he made a play today that I think was really important. He caught that first down, or actually it was the second. We got the ball in the 3, and then I guess they were trying to say Burks may have dropped the ball. I don't know what happened. He clearly caught the ball. The guy tackles him, and we go hurry up, and then we throw the curl route to Keontae right afterwards. But the exposition's we've got to have a position to supplement Satania. And so having JV Gibson and Keontae as 2 6-foot+ receivers who are going to go out there and be a force, be, a factor, be somebody who the teams are going to have to pay attention to, that matters. The offensive line didn't play well enough. The running backs didn't do enough. The tight ends weren't impactful enough, and Mateer damn sure don't deserve it. To me, the X position giving us an opportunity to have another bullet in our gun that can effectively help us. I think that matters.
We'll see how the rest of the playoff, the rest of the game shake out today in terms of the CFP. I saw a comment about, Notre Dame and possibly jumping Oklahoma. Missouri was 22nd in the college football playoff ranking, right? They're a team that was 7-3 going in, who has been that, compared to the teams OU has played, right? Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss, games where those guys are firmly in the playoff mix, or at least Tennessee was. I don't see a world where Notre Dame jumps Oklahoma, who gets a double-digit win over the 22nd ranked team in the CFP. So, we'll see how the rest of everything else shakes out today, D-Mack. But do you see anything, at the top? I haven't looked. What's the Oregon USC score? I got the Texas Arkansas game on over
Oregon's
there.
up 14, about to score again.
There you go. So do you see anything shaking out at the top? Ohio State gets the win. A&M gets the win. Georgia had played a bunch of nobodies today.
I think the whole SEC, besides us and Tennessee, Florida, are playing their proverbial directional A&T school for the blind to pretty much the entire conference outside of us. And that, I guess Kentucky's playing Vandy too. So those 2 games are going on outside of us. It looks like Oregon is going. USC can't stop Oregon because when Oregon wants to run the ball, they can run the ball. And when the receivers are open, Moore doesn't miss them. He throws a very catchable ball that guys can catch and run with. So I think USC is going to lose by 10 or more. Ho-hum Lincoln Riley. I hate to say this, hopefully it doesn't sound bad, but a wet dream would be Lincoln Riley understanding he's not an HBC and coming back to Norman, humbling himself and being the OC. Ladies and gentlemen, we may have a dynasty. That would be ugly for the entire. That would be Saban and Kirby together at Alabama before Kirby went to go be the HBC at Georgia. But we all know that'll never happen because Link's got a bigger ego than his bald spot.
That is definitely so. So I'm gonna look and see what the K-State Utah game is, but K-State currently beating Utah. I guess K-State's out. They're up 31-21. Is that right?
close to a second ago.
So yeah, 30, I think it's 31-21. So I actually think so. I do not in any world think Notre Dame jumps Oklahoma. I think the real worry is Utah loses. Did Miami beat Vatech, right?
Yes.
Miami
Beat 'em bad.
jumps Utah, gets closer to that range where they start being compared with Notre Dame. And I think Notre Dame needs to watch that they don't get jumped by Miami. I think that's going to be the interesting discussion playoff wise down the stretch. I think the OU, I think there's a good dividing line. I know Notre Dame has looked good, but I think those ranked wins and who you have played and OU being in the SEC, there's a distinct line between 8 and 9.
Yeah, I don't think they jump us. Although the optics will try to make the pundits will try to make it such that it's controversial. But Notre Dame hasn't played anybody since they got their ass. I mean, their best claim to fame is a close loss to A&M and and to Miami, right? That the other
Yeah.
loss is Miami and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami and A&M, right? Like, dude, nobody cares how well you lost. You guys play nobody. The ACC's trash. Like the ACC, the best team in the ACC could get 3 or 4 losses in the SEC this year. It's a trash conference. So
Yeah, man, it'll be interesting. Michigan and Ohio State play next week. I think
yeah,
that will be a fascinating thing to watch. If Michigan goes out there and wins that game, watch out for Michigan to be a
yeah,
factor towards the end, right? You beat the number one team in the country. You've got the Michigan brand behind you. You got a loss to Oklahoma and USC, who's probably still going to be a top 25 team for sure. So I think that's going to be a storyline. But one storyline in this one is that OU goes out there, they get the win over Missouri, 17-6, hold Missouri out of the end zone. If we had said pregame, Missouri won't get a touchdown, I'd say we'd say OU had a pretty good shot of winning the football game, and they were able to get that done, get enough offense and create enough good quality field position, play good defense the entire way through. And OU goes out there and gets the dub. D-Mack, closing thoughts before we get out of here, man, as we get set for OU's final regular season week of the 2025 campaign.
yeah, big week. Hopefully they're not celebrating too much tonight. This is one of those ones. I just remember, and I know people probably get tired of me bringing up yesteryear, but I just remember we beat Tech, and we've got Oklahoma State standing in the way of a Big 12 championship and a potential natty game, and just how I wouldn't say pressure, but it was just heavy. By the way, solid week of practice. I mean, everybody knew Josh could barely throw. Nate was taking half the first team reps all week in practice because Josh couldn't throw the ball. But yeah, these guys put themselves in a situation. I'm extremely excited for them. I can't wait to get back on the Mateer gravy train and say, oh my God, I'm so happy he's our quarterback. I can't wait to do it. I really want to do it. I can't wait to say that, oh man, I see exactly where we're going with this. Or, oh man, they fooled me because they had set it up by doing this. And I didn't even think of that. I can't wait to see those things start to fall in place. Because right now we're too vanilla. We have no depth. We have no imagination. Like you said, when a running back shovel pass is a trick play in your scheme, you're in trouble. That should be a play that should just be a part of the offense that we have in if they're doing something that we can take advantage of. Like that should not feel like it's some super schemed up play that we're going to run. But to consolidate it out, I'll say this because we're not going to have to practice this week. I do think that it's time for us to figure out a Mike Hawkins package. I do think BV needs to go have a conversation with Wilson and then go have a conversation with Arbuckle and say, hey, dude, let's mix a little bit of the theory because here's what's going to happen. Or here's what could happen. We beat LSU. It's not a given, but assuming we do, there's conference championship week, and generally they like to give you 7 to 10 days. That could give us essentially a bye, maybe like 12 to 15 days. That's enough time to install some some oversimplified run concepts to add to what we do, because we're not good enough at what we do. And I would hope, to me, the easy fix, Barry, is to put X-Rob in pistol. You can run inside zone, outside zone. You can run action off of it. You can run sprint action off of it. I mean, it just makes too much sense. Take him from an offset position, put him behind the quarterback, let him run downhill versus be at a 45-degree. And if somebody's getting beat, anyway, I'm not going to go too far in that today, but I'm going to end it like I started it. Win in advance. We're in the toughest conference in America. We're beating damn good teams every single week in a row. Everybody's waiting for us to lose. It makes me feel good to see other teams pissed off that we're finding ways to win. And I'm proud of my school. I'm proud of OU. I'm in Cali, and a lot of people don't give us love out here. I bang so hard for us. You guys have no clue how hard I bang for the squad out here. And looking forward to next week. Looking forward to seeing us close it out and officially, punch our ticket to the playoffs.
Yeah, to your point, so OU's going to play LSU this coming weekend. It'll be the 29th. The championship game will be on the 6th. Yeah. Award show weekend, 12th and 13th. The first round games are going to be the 19th and 20th of December. So you would have just so much time for Venables to prepare for whoever, and then it works out like you do that and prepare for your first round matchup, but you also have time to prepare for the other two options that you would have possibly, right? At least the coaching staff, right? You're not running stuff necessarily in practice, but like the staff that's, figuring up game
analysts, GAs, those guys will be all over it. For sure.
Yeah, so OU would have plenty of time to work some things, and I think with how this team is built, bowl games, all of those situations have tended to lend themselves to defensive success more than offensive success.
Yep.
And I think OU is absolutely built for that, and we are built to keep this podcast rolling throughout the year, throughout the rest of this Sooner season, bowl season. We're going to be bringing you guys whatever we can here this upcoming week. It'll be Thanksgiving, but we're going to try and be there for you guys, and of course there for the pregame show this week, as well as the postgame against LSU as OU wraps up the regular season and hopefully wraps it up with getting to 10 wins, man. That's a 10 wins in the SEC, nothing to sneeze at. So if you guys aren't a member of OU Insider, ouinsider.com, go over there, get yourself a membership. I'm going to be posting some stuff over there later today, just on a couple different players. The signing day coverage is going to be fantastic. Going to have video clips, cut-ups of some of these guys. Man, the player that OU just got, Michael Davis, the defensive back that just committed to Oklahoma, same kind of cut from the same cloth as a Guillory, right? Just physical, quick, great hips. OU is really doing stuff on the recruiting trail, and we're talking about it over there on ouinsider.com. And don't miss D-Mack's 10 Thoughts, man. I'm going to be there, as well as a video version made available for you guys who follow the show. If you haven't liked and subscribed, make sure to do that now. Share the content, leave a comment. Let everybody know that we're bringing you this Oklahoma football content every single week. But as always, Sooner Nation, thank you guys for watching. We will see you soon.